Hey everybody, you're watching JCat Land and Cattle. My name's John Charles, and today we're going to kind of just run around, might put up some hot wire, check on some cattle, and depending if it keeps raining, which kind of changed my plans for the day. Today we were going to hook up with the John Deere tractor right there and disc, but now it's too muddy, but can't complain on the rain. Definitely, since we just planted oats right over here about 5 days ago or so, but this is the first time it's gotten some rain on it, and you could see some areas have already started coming up. You can kind of see the rows there, so this rain will do a lot of good there. Plus, if you watched last week's video, put fertilizer down in our wheat fields in the bottom, and I think this is the second rain we've gotten with that, so it should really continue to kickstart the wheat. And also this week, our main tractor, the case right there, decided it didn't want to run anymore, so we had to drag that up, and that took a long time because we were messing around trying to get it started. So this week we really haven't gotten a whole lot done. Each day, you can plan for as much as you want, but at the end of the day you might only get a fraction of it done, which is kind of how it's been. So we're going to make the most of it now, the rain stopping, and I think we're going to go set some hot wires for a small group of cattle we have in the that we try to keep around by the house just in case they calve. That's what we're doing this week. So I say this week, today, so follow along. Okay everybody, we jumped in the side-by-side. We got the step-in post, hot wire, and the energizers down here. So we're heading there to start putting in the post. Alright, we got the step-in post. We got the step-in post, the hot wire, and the energizer over here. Start at this cattle guard. Work our way kind of as far as we can go that way along the road, and then there's a cross fence parallel to this that we'll tie into. This, I think I only have enough for, I got plenty of wire as you can see, but I didn't buy enough step-in posts the other day, so I'm gonna need to buy some more to really do the distance that I want. But I think we'll be able to fence off about 5 to 6 acres here. Kind of intensely graze this and kind of see what it can do. We're only going to have about 15 head. If I move them 3 times a day and then let them back out on the big pasture to kind of see how this area does. This side of the road that we're on, it for some reason doesn't grow as well as over there. It'll kind of just be a little experiment while our oats are still growing. They say we can start grazing it after about 30 days. Anyways, let's get stepping in the post and stretching the wire. Alrighty, we just set the step-in post. I had a few left over, but I've fenced this part off before, and I think that's about as much as we can get with one spool. So I was also thinking, walking through this pasture, that I might, where we pasture as this little paddock that we're hot wiring off to let the grass grow, gonna try to keep the cows off this maybe until it's at least 6, maybe 8 inches tall, which this is like a short prairie, native prairie grass, so I don't know exactly how tall it will get. But walking through here, I had an idea of, well, maybe we can take some Bermuda seed that we have left over from the barn, and whenever we are high intensity grazing this, hopefully they'll graze the first half off, and then we can come in and broadcast some Bermuda seed and they trample it down while they're eating the grass and see how it takes there. We have a no-till drill, and we've drilled in Bermuda before, and we've broadcast and came over with a harrow, and it seems sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The best thing to do is sprigging it. But if we can get this to work, just this little 6 acres, and broadcasting Bermuda and then having the cows come in and trample it down and trample the grass down to kind of put a carbon base down, and it works, then we might try to do it on a larger scale in the big pasture. It's about 200 acres, 300 acres of just weeds, because it used to be, they used to do cotton in it, which before that it was Bermuda. So we know Bermuda can grow and it grows well there. Right now it's just a bunch of weeds, so we need to go in and find the most economical way to get it back into Bermuda or some sort of native grass. But native grass is just as expensive as Bermuda, mainly because we have the Bermuda seeds, so might as well use it. But I was walking through here and you can see where we unrolled some hay and then they trampled it and everything. And compared to the other areas, there's a lot of volunteer rye coming up here. So it'll be interesting the more we come into spring to see how just this little strip right here compares to right here where there hasn't been any compaction or anything. As you can see, there's a lot of bare spots, and this is kind of how the whole ranch is. So it's not ideal, but hopefully we can figure out a way to improve it without spending too much money. Now we're going to grab the wire and start unrolling it, and hopefully I can make it to the end. I forgot to get the ground rod, so we're going to run to the barn and see if we can find something, or a metal step-in post, and just put it in the ground and clip onto that for the ground. Done it before and it seems to be all right. So we got the step-in post that's metal, and I'm just going to use this as the ground, and just come over here, and here's our old Energizer. We'll put this post about right here, step it in, put the wire up here like so, and then this I turned on earlier to make sure it worked, and for some reason I can't get it to, hey, don't touch that, dog. I can't get it to turn off. So wow, just shocked me. All right, we got the negative to the ground, and the ground's pretty wet, so it should get a good enough charge. And then we got this clipped up top, and so it should be a live fence now, so hopefully it'll keep the cows out to let that side really prosper and grow. Now that we've done that, we can run down to the bottom and check on the alfalfa and the wheat. About 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, we burned about 800 acres of pretty much straight timber with some grass, and we're gonna go check on the progress of that, so follow along. All right, everybody, we made it down to the bottom where we fertilized the wheat. You can see with everything, it's really coming on pretty good. Even 2 cows have found the wheat. They're not really supposed to be down here. I'm not exactly sure how they got here, probably jumped the fence or cattle guard. I'll probably have to go walk that and figure it out. And you can tell they kind of even know they're not supposed to be here, and they're like, we better get out of here quick. But anyways, looking at it, it looks pretty good. Seen better, but I definitely think it's responding well to the fertilizer. There are some weeds in it and stuff, but you can see even the alfalfa is starting to grow that we planted last year, which really didn't do a good stand at all. So we just planted wheat instead, but I'm glad to still see it. This is kind of the progress so far. Some geese are in the wheat as we're heading to the burned area. We've made it to the burned area. And if you look behind me, that is kind of what it looked like before we burned the pasture and the woods, which most of this was woods that we burned. And then on this side of the fire break is where we burned. Now this spot isn't the best, it didn't burn everywhere, but you can see it's already starting to green up after about a week and a half. We're going to continue to go through the burned area and see the progress that it's made. This is a really good spot to see kind of what it went through and just how much it cleared the woods here. All of this behind me was solid briars like this right here. Now you can see this burned underneath it and probably killed some of it. But we try to burn this every 2 years, but this one probably hasn't been burned in 2 or 3. Before we burnt this time, you could kind of get through there. The briars weren't quite as thick. Now you can walk all through here with ease, and the wildlife will really enjoy that. And now it's also letting new life come up of the grasses and forbs for the cattle to eat as well. Although this part of the ranch we aren't able to put any cattle in at the moment due to a lot of fence work to do. But it's just crazy how after a burn, how quickly things come back greener and more vibrant than before, it seems like. So we'll continue going through the burn area, and we might stop and show other areas that burned and done really well on clearing the underbrush, stuff like that. And it's just a good time to look for sheds. Another thing with the burns that we really do the burns for is to try to kill cedar trees. They're becoming very invasive around here. Luckily we don't have too many on this ranch yet, but they are here. For instance, we burned this area, but it didn't burn this cedar tree, which is really unfortunate. We'll have to probably come in here and just ride around with a chainsaw one day and try to cut as many as we can, because I also see another small one up here, and I'm sure there's quite a few more. But if we don't tackle it now, I feel like it'll be nearly impossible later to be able to get rid of them. Oh, found a shed. Knew burning would pay off. Looks like the mice have already gotten to it. Here's one shed. This is another pretty good area where it burned. Kind of show what we're trying to accomplish. On this behind me wasn't burned, but you can see cedar tree, cedar tree, cedar tree. Where right here, where we did burn, there was a cedar tree right there. Hopefully it won't come back. And luckily with cedar trees, if you just cut the stump, they're done. They don't grow back, where if you cut more of a live oak or post oak, something along those lines, it'll kind of re-sprout from the stump. This is also an area where man, the more I'm walking back here, the more cedars I see. But it torched that cedar and a few of those right there. But as you can see, there's some big ones behind us and stuff. So we're really going to need to come in here, either burn it again or cut them down with the chainsaw, which at this point we'll probably just come in with the chainsaw. But it's neat. You can kind of show the deer and the pigs make. Anyways, this is kind of the progress of the burn. So now I'll probably continue driving through this, and then we might go check on some calves that if y'all watched a couple weeks ago, we gave them some vaccines and shots and everything, and now they've been out on grass for, oh, I'd say every bit of a month now. We're getting to the point where, besides a few of them we're going to keep back to feed out, we're getting to the point where we're trying to decide if we should sell them now, sell some, keep some. The market's real high right now, so just going to go check on those and kind of make up a game plan of what we should do with them. Well, we're still driving through the burned area. Gotta hop this fence. I think we found another pretty good shed right up here. Or a stick, we'll figure out whenever we get there. Well, it was a shed. I think this is last year's shed though, but maybe not due to the fire. It made it look like this, but I don't see the other one. But anyways, we're gonna keep making our way to those calves we gave shots to a couple weeks ago. Okay, we're still heading to those calves, but I decided to stop in this pasture along the way to show y'all what a burn looks like after a year. So we burned this last February or March, around that time. All of this was thick briars. Still kind of see it close to this tree. It didn't get it, but I mean, this was a solid wall right here. And so we burned it. It cleared it out pretty good. But you can see even back there it kind of tapered out. But right here it did burn really well. And then we didn't put cattle in here during the entire growing season. So we let the grass come back and rest. And we just now, 2 months ago, put them in here. And we're really hoping they'll, which it looks like they've already done. We're really hoping they can graze this down to not nothing, but really trample it and cleared like this. And you can see where it literally looked like that, those briars over there, and now grass is growing where they can graze. So that's kind of our plan. And though they're grazing it down to nothing right now, we're gonna let this rest all of summer and spring. So hopefully it doesn't do too much damage, but we got to be able to clear some of these woods without coming in with heavy machinery. And I feel like this process is working pretty well. Now let's get to those calves. We made it to the west pasture with all the calves that we worked a couple weeks ago, and they're all looking pretty good. Some of them I wish grew off a little faster or had a little more meat on their bones, but they all look healthy and are doing good. Now we have to decide if we want to keep these or do we want to sell them now when the prices are pretty high. This pasture, we haven't decided exactly what we're going to try to do. This pasture is the one that has the corrals in it, so we usually bring cattle in here a little before we work them and stuff, so it kind of gets neglected on grazing pressure. So this year we're thinking of planting it with maybe some Piper Sudan or some sorghum hay grazer all throughout this field. You also have the risk of getting nitrate poisoning or prussic acid, depending on the climate and the stress levels of the grass. So I'd hate to put that out here and then not be able to bring the cattle in. This used to be an old home site in this pasture, and I've always thought it was a pretty view, and it'd be cool to rebuild an old house here, and you'd kind of have the view out there, which I think is real pretty. This used to be an old root cellar. You can see where it was. We had to kind of push some of it in because if a calf fell through, that wouldn't have been good, so I wanted to make sure they could get out. I hate doing that to something like this. You can still see some of the remnants of it here. But anyways, looks like the calves are doing good. These aren't all of them, so we're going to continue driving around this pasture and looking at them. Back to the barn after checking on those calves, and along the way we found a couple of those antlers. I found a few more. I think 2 of them I'm gonna cut up with the bandsaw and give them for dog treats to let these dogs chew on. Side of this is real neat. I don't know if y'all can see it. Got those cut. That'll about do it for today, guys. Thanks for following along, and remember to eat beef.